So in this video, I'm going to be talking about how to break the chains of poverty that can come from your family. If your family wasn't affluent, if you don't come from a very rich family like myself, and what those behaviors that you have inherited from your family members, from your overall atmosphere, how that affects your performance in business, how that affects your decisions, how that affects your worldview, and how your upbringing and conditioning plays a very important role in success. And I will also share with you how to break free from that and what causes your mind to be limited and what caused my mind to be limited and what I have seen so far, growing up and really analyzing it with a certain critical point of view and challenging my belief systems and creating transformations and paradigm shifts. So when I was 14, I visited Dubai for the first time in my life, and I saw all the supercars that were my favorite growing up, and I had only seen those supercars in video games, in movies, and it was just a concept for me how people lived. Who were driving supercars and living in penthouses. All of that was just a concept for me. But when I visited Dubai for the first time at the age of 14, I saw it with my own eyes. These top CEOs, these celebrity-like figures rolling around in cars worth hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And here my mother was working full-time, giving everything she got, and all she could generate was $2,000 a month. And I was raised by her, a single mom, and here we are struggling to survive, and here there is a whole economy of people. There is whole range of people who are not celebrities, who are not famous, but they are making so much money. I mean, cars everywhere, penthouses, and it was a crazy environment. And actually it was very traumatic for me because I got exposed to a whole new world. And that trip was a gift that my mother received from her company. So it's not that she paid for that trip. She couldn't afford to pay for that trip. And our room was booked in the Atlantis Hotel, which is one of the top hotels in UAE. And I saw the type of people that were there. They looked like movie stars. And the women looked so beautiful, the men looked so good looking, and they were wearing, a couple of $1,000 suits, couple of $1,000 shoes, and I just could not make sense of anything. And I remember going on to the airport of Dubai, and I saw all these perfumes and these watches and these glasses and all the clothes, and I was looking at the labels and everything, and I just felt like everything was out of reach. Everything was just out of reach and not available to me. And it gave me a feeling of being left out, being excluded, being abandoned by the whole world. And so I went back, and that was a strong anchor for me, and that is where the genesis of ambition was born, is that I want to find out what these people do. And I want to find out, how they got in those positions and how they made this money. It was very natural, and the answer that I was getting from my environment was, you got to study, you got to get good grades, you got to get in a good college, and then you got to get a job. It's the same thing I heard everywhere in my environment, but that advice did not work. That advice did not get people to Ferraris and penthouses. Getting a job is not necessarily going to put you in that position. And so it was just, everything seemed impossible. And then I was like, I watched this movie, The Secret, I wrote down my goals, and I started to visualize, and things started to happen. But I quickly realized that things are possible and people are doing it, so there has to be a way. And so I started to analyze, and I quickly discovered the truth after 8-9 years. In fact, I discovered it very recently, a few years ago, and that completely changed my whole outlook towards life, towards money, and everything to do with finances. And here is what it is. Just think about it. In the olden times, when people used to live in villages, there were only a few people who were known as the scholars or the priests who knew how to read and write. And they were the ones who were the smart ones, and people could not think for themselves. So they had to rely on these individuals who would think for them what's good for them and tell them what's good for them, so that then they can live their life according to this person's opinion. And the education was restricted and controlled. And hence you had so many people who were not educated, and when you're not educated, you are unsophisticated and kind of stupid, and you can be easily controlled. And if you have education, then you have leverage over the person who does not have education. And this is a form of control and power. So this form of control and power has been going on for a long time. And so there were few people who could think, who had the mind, who knew how to read. And imagine you did not know how to do numbers or mathematics. I mean, if you don't know how to do numbers and you don't even know what numbers are, you're not going to be a very empowered individual. You're going to live a very disempowered life, and you most likely will be working in someone's home as a maid or a worker, and you're doing physical labor. So you cannot really harness the power of the mind if you don't have the right information. And so information was always tightly controlled, because people did not want that other people, masses of humanity, get out of slavery that they were in. And the way they maintain this control and power is by controlling information and controlling knowledge. And they would not give this away. Soon enough, they started to give some information away, and they held back some more, and held back some. And then gradually the education systems were born. So I want to talk to you a little bit about education system, because that's where most of the paradigms are formed. It is also formed in your house from your family, but your families are also a product of the education system. So it's the same education system that conditions the family and you, the individual. So let's look at the structure here. Everything was controlled by kings and queens and the priests in the olden days. In today's times, everything is controlled by the politicians. The politicians control the laws. The laws are enforced by the guns and the justice system in law enforcement. And through all of this, schools and education systems are controlled. How are they controlled? If you want to open a school, you need to first apply for the license, and then you cannot teach anything you want in the school. You can only teach what they want you to teach. Okay, you can only teach in schools what they want you to teach. They will give you the curriculum. Only then you will be certified or given the license to operate as a school, as a college, whatever. They need to approve on the content that gets pushed out. Why do you think that is? The answer is obvious. They want to control how the children are shaped, their minds are shaped, and what they know, what they don't know, what they believe, what they don't believe. So the whole masses are shaped in this institution called the school. The school is controlled by the government and the politicians. But here is an interesting part. Who controls the politicians? It's the rich people, okay? The rich people fund their elections, and they control the politicians by funding their elections and structuring the laws in their favor. Okay, this is a common practice, and this has been going on. Businessmen would fund kings. Kings would use armies to enforce law on the rest of the people. They would control wealth, they would control arms, they would control money, they would control everything, and they are the ones who are going to decide what happens to everybody. So it's not in their interest to teach you about money, because all the masses would get sophisticated and then they cannot be controlled. If they cannot be controlled, who is going to work in the companies? Who's going to work in the labor factories? How are those industries going to run? So the rich people formed companies and they had businesses and they were making a lot of money. So they said, listen, we need employees. We want workers to be working for us all the time. So what do? Let's set up the education system. We will attach prestige to a job. We will attach prestige to getting this education. It's not a real education. Believe me, I'm not against education. I'm for education. But this system, which is known as education system, is really not an education system. Or at least it's in a partial sense. It's a partial information. They give you information enough for you to get a job and survive, but they don't give you the information how to get rich. That information is held back. All right, so I'm taking you to the source of the problem, the source of all the confusion, the source of all the pain that you might have, the frustration that you might have, and you don't know where it comes from, and you feel confused when you see someone driving a Bugatti or a Ferrari. This is where it stems from. That information which got them the Ferrari and the Bugatti is not taught in schools. It's against their interest to share this in the school, because then it'll be available in the masses and there's going to be too much competition. So instead what they do is they direct the masses to work for their companies, and time is the most valuable resource. So they want you to program you through the school system and take you through this journey of indoctrination into this information, so that you can one day get a job, serve in a company, and give your time away. Using this time, the rich leverage the time, create more wealth, give you a very small portion of salary so that you can just survive. And as you are surviving, they take more and more of your time. Now you can change your job, but you will end up somewhere in someone's company, and your time is going to be exploited and used to create wealth for the person running the company. So this is a system that was created to generate employees. Can you get rich being an employee? Yes, but it's very rare. So the answer is, generally speaking, no. So you have only few jobs in those big companies, and I have dealt with executives from those big companies, and I know what they are being paid and what they were being paid. It's not a lot. They have revealed it's not a lot. While you have the job, you have a decent lifestyle, especially if you have those positions. But not everybody gets in those positions. Most of them are working 9 to 5 and are struggling. Why? They don't have the information. So first, they take your money, they give you information that does not work. They don't even give that information, they enforce that information. What happens if you didn't finish the homework in school? Punishment. Or in India, you were beaten. In my school, you were beaten. So while you're being beaten and all of this pain is being inflicted upon you, your mind is being shaped. What's the first thing that they do when you go to school? Silence. Don't open your mouth. Silence. You got to be silent. I remember in my school there were so many posters of this man, doing like this. Silence. Shut up. Don't talk. Why? Because this communication is your power source. When you want to be rich, you got to hone in your communication skills. So the first thing they do is shut down your power. Shut up. Now, when you shut up, you got to listen and pay attention. What happens if you don't pay attention? You're thrown out of the class. So then you got to pay attention, and they have control over your ears and eyes. These are the doorways of your mind. Information goes in and your mind is being shaped. For 10 to 12 years, they shape your mind. They keep you in a small chair. Have you seen how small chairs are in school? Why is that? When you sit on a small chair, you think you're small, and you have that association with being a small person, and It's a very, and you're aligned in rows and lines. And what are the types of behaviors that are rewarded in school? Obedience, not answering back, performing good in grades, become a parrot. Just take this information, and if you can repeat it, you're a good boy, you will get the candy. If you don't repeat the information, you will get beaten or punished. And if you're not beaten or punished, your parents would be called, who, by the way, control your food and your rent, the place you stay. So they have tremendous amount of power, and the child is being put through pressure. And this is a whole indoctrination process that you go through. By the end, you finish the school, your mind is loaded with bad information or useless information. 70 to 80% of the information taught in school is useless. It doesn't help you to accomplish your goals. It doesn't help you to get rich. So the rich control the politicians and the government controls the school, and in turn controls the entire masses. And this is a whole paradigm that's given. If you don't perform well in school, you will not get a good job. If you don't get a good job, you will not be able to survive. And business, my friend, is very risky, and you're not being taught how to do business. So how are you going to do the business? So you were not taught how to do business, your parents were not taught how to do business, maybe some of your family members ventured out, really took the risk, make something happen, maybe they failed. So there is a whole baggage and a lot of trauma that's caused by this to families, to individuals, and all of this keeps people powerless, completely powerless. And thankfully, this system is being disrupted as we speak. Why? Because you're watching YouTube right now and you have this information available. Now information has been leaked all over the place, and people are coming out and sharing their secrets. People have an incentive now to share their secrets and provide information that works. And so there is a big dialogue in the movie Wall Street, not the Wolf of Wall Street, the Wall Street, I think from 1980s or 1990s, where Gordon Gekko says, the most valuable commodity I know is information. So with the advent of internet, information is available, and you can get access to people who have the information. And it's obvious, look at their results and you know that they have the information. So the first step in starting a business is called research and development. It's basically gathering information. Imagine you did not know how fire is created, and only a few people know how the fire is created, and they have kept this as a secret. They would be extremely powerful individuals because they would be perceived as magicians, and that information remains in that network. Fire would be luxury if that was the case. Now it's just a basic commodity. So when something is taken away from the society, hidden, guarded, that's what we call trade secrets. We cannot reveal it. These are our trade secrets or intellectual property. You cannot share this. It's guarded. So this is the reason you want to be careful of the information that is very easily available to the masses. I remember one of my friends used to watch Discovery Channel, and he used to think, and he still thinks he's very smart. Discovery Channel is available for everybody. That's the information that's available to everybody. Schools are now available, and the information that's given in the school was available to everybody. Where is your competitive edge? Where is the edge? And why is it that many rich people did not finish school and a lot of them did not finish college? How does that happen? They make the connections, they find mentors, and a lot of the times they have to pay for the information. The first thing I did when I could borrow money from my family, I did not go and get myself a car. I went, I found mentors, and I got information. I decided I'm not going to act because I'm going to act based on what I was taught in school. I know that information does not work. So first thing I got to do is get information. Once I have the information, then my whole view is shaped by that. My whole paradigm, the way I operate, has completely shifted once I have reliable information. And I had to do many trials and errors to really find information that works, and I tested that information by execution. Okay, and then I validated that information. And then I was grounded in that information. Initially, when I received the information, I was 50-50. Maybe it will work, maybe it will not. But then you go in and you test and you see it working. You're like, whoa, this thing is legitimate. But here is the thing. The moment you find out this thing is legitimate, you are like, okay, I need to shut my mouth because this is my competitive edge. I paid so much money for it, and I put in so much time for it, and I spent more money executing it. I want to keep it a trade secret. So then you can have some empathy for the rich when that happens. So key element of being rich, right information. Key element in being poor and powerless, lack of information, lack of right information. And worse is when you're pumped with bad information and it's pumped on your mind rigorously and enforced upon you. Not only the information is enforced upon you, bad behaviors that actually are against your interest. Things like obedience. There is nothing good about obedience. People telling you what to do and you just listening and agreeing and doing what they tell you, is that good for you? It's not. But it's drilled. So many times you can experiment this. Tell a person, come here. And what will happen? Suddenly their body reacts and they'll come to you and they'll say yes. Especially if you're in a position of authority, you're wearing a suit or something, you say, come here. They will come here. What happened? They are programmed to take commands, take instructions. I was always told in my school, you're not good at taking instructions. I am thankful now I'm not good at taking instructions. I was always good at giving instructions. And that's the essence of leadership is communication. That's one of the reasons a lot of the people struggle with public speaking, is because their communication was shut down, their power was shut down, their source of power was shut down in school for decades. They have spent hours and hours and hours keeping quiet. And it's all of this is structured against you. By the time you finish school, your parents have exhausted their money. By the time you finish college, you're in deep debts. You're in an extremely weak position and you need a job. You need a job like you need air in your lungs. And this is the time they say, okay, now you're ready to start a career. You're already 25 in debts, and now what do you think you're going to do? Take the low risk and low paying job that pays for your bills and hopefully pays for the debt, or you're going to do a high risk entrepreneurship venture for which anyway you don't have the information. So hence grand masses are being drawn to jobs. Hence what happens, it's a shitty opportunity first of all, but there is a lot of competition for this shitty opportunity. So what happens? Perception is reality. You see people chasing a job and you start to believe it's maybe something valuable or prestigious. Everybody wants it. Everybody wants a job. I was never interested in getting a job. I couldn't give a shit. I'll sit at home. Think. Think or read or get information. And how can I get access to information? Who has it? Tried so many mentors. I've done over 46 courses. Business, networking, this, that, and experimented so many things to be able to arrive at the position I'm in. And now I have partnerships with $3.5 billion CEOs, lawyers that have advised on $13 billion transaction, senior partners from top accounting firms, top finance guys who were CFOs of $400 million companies that have done IPOs worth billions of dollars. These, top healthcare CEOs with 30 plus years of experience, I have access to information through them also. So I got mentors, I have access to information. I got information through these individuals also based on their experience. That's massive leverage to start off with. So that's the lesson. If you want to be rich, you need to get the right information. You need to be grounded in the information. You need to understand why you're in the position that you are in today. It's not your fault. The system was rigged against you. You're backed into the corner. And it's time for war. Metaphorically speaking, of course, you got to be always compliant with the law. So I was telling my girlfriend once recently when she was really upset and sad and confused, she was trying to build a business. I said, listen, you have two options. Slavery, which is total obedience through a job, or war, which is business. Okay, again, metaphors, all right? This is not literal war. That's not what I'm saying, okay? It's just a metaphor, is that you got to fight for the right. You got to fight to acquire positions. You got to work hard to acquire positions that are making that kind of money. And you can, thankfully today, the good news is that you can leverage technology, you can leverage platforms, you can make connections. You don't have to be limited to the market that you were born into. You can access markets that are outside of your country. The world is more connected than ever before. Information is available, right people are available. You can reach out to them and you can get access to the information that can get you to your ultimate goal. And that is real education. The point of education is empowerment. The point of education is not degree and qualification. And the point of empowerment is to produce results, financial results, outcomes. If the information generates outcomes, that information is extremely valuable. If it doesn't, it's not valuable, So that's the point today. And I leave you with that. If you want to reach out to me for mentorship, I have a 3 to 6 months mentorship program where I train you one-on-one to find your business partners, pick an industry, craft your business model, and ultimately put yourself in a position of doing multi-million-dollar deals. I've paid a lot of money to learn this. I have made a lot of sacrifices to know what I know right now. And I've put in a lot of time to be able to validate this. If this is who you are, if you're serious, I only work with serious individuals. And these days I'm only working one-on-one. So if that's you, reach out to me on email. I'm gonna leave a link below, email or any of the social medias. Reach out to me and we will see what can be worked out between us. I'll talk to you soon, and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you soon. Take care.